Kelly from Morgantown, West Virginia asks, what age were you that stands out as a major turning point in your life?
In general or musically? I'm going to assume musically.
Yeah, I'm going to answer it personally. I'm going to say it's around 18.
Yeah.
That was when I graduated high school, and all of a sudden I was no longer confined by
anything.
Things.
Yeah, that was a pretty immediate change, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And
I don't even know if it's happened yet.
There's so many different turning points, but again, like that was around the same time. I think I would say around the same time, the most significant change that ever happened in I think all of our lives was when we were able to leave this small town in Michigan and start touring the world. I think that was a pretty big tipping point.
Whatever age that was.
Yeah.
Megan from Texas City, Texas. I was wondering, what are some of your favorite stage outfits you've worn so far performing, and what's your staple item in your closet? It's a good question. It's funny because it's evolved so much.
It has evolved, yeah. I don't know, there's some good independent pieces that sort of serve the purpose. I guess it sort of really depends on the venue or the circumstance of the festival.
My favorite was what I wore at Red Rocks Amphitheater.
Definitely, those are some good pieces. I liked Coachella, what I was wearing there. Anything that is as piratical as it gets. That was certainly one of my favorite outfits. The stripes.
Staple item in my closet.
Yeah.
I don't really have much. It's not really that exciting, unfortunately.
Yeah. I don't know. It's all sort of eclectic stuff.
Yeah. They're all staple items.
Mood of the day.
Eileen from Tampa, Florida. Peace and love from Florida. How has your COVID/quarantine changed your perspective on performing? It's definitely made me more excited to perform.
Yeah, I think there's a recharge. I think there's a reset.
That's all it has done, is actually just made me... It's turned it into an absolute addiction. You know when you're addicted to something but you don't know until you stop it?
Right.
That's what not performing has done.
Yeah, and I don't know that there's any particular at this point uneasiness about getting back into touring, and of course it's going to be process by process, and the way that probably people will have to get back together and
absolutely
and do some distancing, but it's I'm excited really for it to just get back to this sort of sense of unity where people can be in this room together and share that sort of space.
Yeah, excited is an understatement. Darla from Southfield, Michigan asks, who do you feel like you know, even though you've actually never met them?
That's an interesting question. That's a good one.
I feel like
to you, Darla.
This is random, but it's the first thing that comes to my mind. I feel like I know exactly who Jack Black is. I've never met him.
Yeah. That's a good one. And ironically, I feel like I know who Jack White is, even though we've only passed him in an airport once or something.
Yeah.
Jack Black and Jack White.
There we go.
There you go, Darla.
Doreen from White Plains, New York. What is the best perk about being an artist?
I don't know. That's a good question. I suppose the freedom to just create. I think just freedom in general.
That's my answer too. Absolutely. Yeah. When you do it right. When you play your cards right. Hannah from Norfolk, Virginia. Have you ever been in a car accident? Was it your fault?
Well.
No, for me.
I can't get into explicit details, but yes. Next question.
What zoo animal would you have as a pet? I would love to have some sort of a cat, like a big tiger, panther or something, but realistically it's not.
Yeah, well, if this was extremely illegal, then maybe a panther. Panther would be cool.
Yeah.
I've always liked panthers.
Panther's always been one of my favorites.
Yeah, so panthers.
Sarah from Cleveland, where is your Grammy Award displayed? Did you each get one? Yes, we each got one. And mine is sitting on my record player at home.
Yeah, I got one, and it's at our managerial office, and that's where it stays.
Mine moves weekly.
Yeah, we move them around.
Yeah. Jennifer from Minneapolis, what riff best represents GVF?
There are some certain riffs on the new record that I think really represent us now. I think a riff that maybe represented us
that's a good point.
In the past. Highway Tune at one point represented us.
You can't pick one because it is constantly
there's an evolution
evolving.
Of riffage, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
But maybe
it's a good question though. Very good question.
Yeah.
Ben from Pittsburgh, do you remember the first time you ever saw or heard a band doing a cover of one of your songs? I remember nothing specific, unfortunately, but because we never really got out to go see.
I want to see Ben do a cover of one.
I would love to see that. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
I remember on YouTube seeing tutorials and how to play the parts on drums and guitar.
Yeah, that's
that
cool
was quite
because
the
everybody kind of like, that was like one of the first things I remember is when someone would like, this is how you play the song on guitar. You play it on drums or sing it or perform it in bass keys.
Ben,
so
it's your turn.
Yeah, it's your turn now. Let's see it.
Bob from Pontiac, Michigan. What's the weirdest place you found one of your guitar picks? I lost one.
I don't think I can appropriately say.
I lost one of my favorite guitar picks one time and found it in a little pencil jar in school one time, and that was kind of nuts. I knew it was mine because it was no longer the shape of a guitar pick. It was rounded after so much use.
That's pretty good. I've lost picks in like the yard at home and then found them like a year later in the grass.
They're everywhere. Siri from Minneapolis asks, who in the band do you think would be a bad date and why? Well, what makes a bad date?
Me, probably. I'm a really sloppy eater.
Yeah, I was going to say you're supposed to be here at 5, and it is now 8.
I would be really late. I would be like a day late. I probably wouldn't even show up. You'd be stood up. It'd be miserable.
I don't know. Overall, none of us would be too bad.
Come on. Gentlemen.
James from Concord. How long does it take to make a set list for a tour? When you get back on the road, about how many songs from the new album will make the list?
Good question, James.
Well,
it's very specific.
We design our set list before every show because that keeps us sane. We can't play the same set list over and over and over. It's just it doesn't feel like you're an artist
We're cheating
anymore.
ourselves and all of you. So that's.
And I would say that's a tough question. Kind of depends on what touring's like. We may have more songs out by the time we're touring. But I know historically as a band, there will be plenty of songs from the new album that will make the set list.
I would say the answer to this question will be determined an hour before we go on.
There we go.
Next show.
We write the set list an hour before we go on. Abby from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. If the band had a dog that toured with you on the bus, what kind of dog would it be, and what would you name it?
A Great Dane.
That would be really cool, but very impractical. He would need his own tour bus. That would be awesome, though. Great Dane's a good answer. We'll stick with that.
Clifford, the big red dog. I don't know.
Erica from Birmingham, Alabama. How many tattoos do you have? What was the first one? Which is the newest? Well, is that an easy one?
Yeah.
I don't have any tattoos, so
none
there
of
was
us
no
have
first
any
one.
tattoos.
Yeah, that's right. None of us do.
None of us do. So
All right.
that's the answer.
Sorry, Erica.
Sorry, Erica.